Hello everyone and welcome back once again to another video. I am your host as always, Devvy, and this video is going to be a bit different from the previous videos that we were making during the Politics and War series, primarily because I'm pretty certain there are others out there, especially in-game, that want to know how to utilize the API to create Google Sheets, and there is literally no resources available for it. Like, someone has to actively teach you how to do it or give you the code to use for it for you to be able to do it. Like, there's on the entirety of YouTube only one video on the subject. And that video is outdated. Trust me, I know. I tried it. It failed. Not to mention that video was specifically for the test server. And most likely, if you are doing this, you will be looking to do it on the main server. So how do you do it? Well, obviously the first thing you need to do is create a sheet. So let's create a sheet right here. Now, you don't need to put anything here in this row. You don't need to put anything there. You don't need to put anything in any columns. You don't need to touch it. Just create the sheet, leave it there blank. For the purposes of this, you will want to rename the sheet, clearly. But you can name it whatever you want. Let's say your alliance is called Black. You could name it Black Member List. It matters not. You will also want to name this, though it's not entirely necessary, since you could just use the name that's currently there when coding. But I recommend naming it to make it much easier for yourself. Name it Member. Do note that whatever you put here, you will need to put in the coding when you're coding it exactly as it is. Meaning, if it's members here with an S, you must put members when coding it. And don't worry about the coding, guys. Trust me, it will be fairly simple. Now, there are a couple ways you can do this. The easy way, copy and paste the code in the description. I'm not going to sit down here and tell you exactly how to code, because let me be real with you, I personally do not know the first thing about coding. But what I do know how to do is copying and pasting. And as long as you do exactly what I tell you to do, it will work. Like, it's pretty easy as long as you're copying and coding and not worrying about, oh, what does this do and what does that do? Don't worry about that. You don't have to. Even when we reach on import JSON and all of that, you need to worry about what those does, because as far as you are concerned, doesn't matter, right? And if you're worried that, oh, but the code might give away my information, trust me, it won't. The way we're doing it now will only give the information to the specific sheet that you send it to. Meaning, as long as you utilize the ID, which is found here, by the way, in between the dash after, or rather the slash after the D and the slash before edit, or if you don't have edit there, let's say you only have it like this. This is the ID right here. This batch of letters, numbers, and symbols that comes immediately after this. Let's see. Not that. This in the key. So immediately after you see this, that's what comes next. Now we're just going to reload it so we can get back our ID. Yeah. Now, why you don't want to put anything here? Well, it doesn't really matter. But I'm going to show you, for example, why it doesn't really matter. If we put members here, then we put ID here, then we put nation, let's say cash, soldiers. We're just going to toss a random list of things there, right? Ships. And then all over the thing, we're just going to toss random things there. You're going to see that it doesn't matter what you do here, because when you run the code the very first time, it's going to erase everything that's currently there and fill it in with the information that you have requested. Now, Actually, what we might do, because I want to show you perfectly exactly how to do it, we are going to do it like this way, like this. But the main reason why I'm going to be able to do it like this is simply because this nation is not a member of the government of this alliance. And so it won't mess up anything. But I want to show you it on this and not the test server because, I don't want it to be any different. So this is the where you can find your API key, by the way. Do not share this key with anyone. You see me doing it now. Where the key is on the screen, maybe it's blacked out. You never know. But scroll down on your account page. After you click on account, scroll down or just press API key to be fair. Until you find it, copy this key. Do not share the key with anybody you do not trust. When I say trust, I mean trust, especially if you are a government member of an alliance that has access to the bank of said alliance, because the code can be used, or rather the key can be used to withdraw money, resources, and everything in between from your alliance bank, including change taxes, view nation stockpile, view the alliance bank stockpile. You understand? It can be used to essentially play the game without logging into your account. So do not, and I repeat, do not hand this code out to anyone. I am capable of doing this because this ain't my nation. Oh, well, let's put it this way. This nation will be deleted pretty soon, so at most, by the time you are watching this key has no value. Yes? No. You want that key, you're gonna copy it, just like I said, you're gonna copy it. Let me do it for you. Copy. And you're gonna keep it. Then you're going to return here. Now, for my purposes, I'm going to paste it here simply because I don't want to have to go back and do that. But what you are going to do next is pretty simple. Now, the previous video on YouTube would tell you to go to the API thing. You don't need to do that really and truly. You just click on this little thing here, Well, actually, let me show you that site first. If you're wondering what I just did, by the way, I clicked on extensions, app script, and it opened this. We're just going to rename this tutorial. And renaming it is important simply because most likely you're going to have more than one sheet. The same process can be used if you have more than one sheets down here, worksheets that is. And I'm going to show you that as well. So let's just name this Alliance. It doesn't matter what we name it because this is just a tutorial, but name it based on what you're going to be putting there. The site that you are going to be interested in though is called api.politicsandwar.com. In fact, you know what? Let's see. API/GraphQL -playground. That's the website. Right there. We messed up. Let's see if we messed up. Yep. API must go in front of it. Pop. There we are. Once you are here, you want to... I was like, the sheet update already? You will want to... Let me return here so you can see. Do a very unique thing in that you want to type in the following. I'm just getting it from the other side, so I give you exactly what you need. That questions mark or sign, depending on how you want to say it, API_key equals Then you want to get your API key. For me, it's just right here, and paste it there. Before it's there, you'll realize server cannot be reached, and you see error here. Once you put it there and it's the right key or a key that works, that will go away, indicating that yes, you have now connected to the server. Now, for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to copy another one that we have used, namely, this one would be for Vampiria, but you're not in Vampiria, so you might not be, well, why am I saying here might not? You won't be able to access this per se. So we're gonna go over it shortly. It is curly bracket, and for if you're wondering what curly bracket I'm referring to, let me see if we can get docs.google.com blank. Let me show you exactly what we're referring to in big letters, or I guess it's a big font, so you don't miss it. That's what I'm referring to. So when I say curly bracket, that's what I'm referring to. When I say bracket, that's what I'm referring to. When I say square, that's what I'm referring to. So curly bracket, bracket, squared bracket. I don't think we'll be using square bracket here. I mean, we could, but I don't think we'll be using it. But I'm just putting that there from now. Now, the code here is curly bracket, and it would look like this actually. So let me just do this so you can see exactly as we do it. Type it in one by one. So curly bracket, you can delete everything that's there. The write your nation or your query or mutation as well, you can delete that. You won't need that. So it's curly bracket, then enter nations. You'll see it load up on its own. Then bracket, alliance ID, colon. You put in your alliance ID, comma, first, colon, 500. Then you go on the outside of the bracket, you put curly bracket, you'll see two of them come up, press enter, and that's where we're going to begin. So once you have done that, you should be right here, right? If you run it right now, it won't work because you haven't put anything for it to search for as yet. You haven't put anything for it to query then, in other words. Now, you don't need data. You can use data, because if you see we run it right now, you can use data, but you don't need, well, actually you might need it. I forget to change it, yes. Good thing I looked at the code first. So you do need data. Let me see first and foremost. Nation, yep, you need data there. That's an easy way to check whether you need it or not. If you're typing, it autofills. So if you're typing and you realize, oh, I'm typing nation, but nation doesn't come up, it's simply because that's not something that you can use right now. And if you leave nation there, for example, well, if you press enter, it will just fill it in. But if you leave nation there, for example, let me do that, and then go down to type something else, you realize cannot query field nation on nation progenitor. Won't work. And in fact, if we go back and run the code as is, you'll see that it doesn't work. And it tells you the exact same thing that it also tells you when you hover over it. So you have to go back and type in data, of course. Then you're going to go back to brackets, the curly brackets rather. Press enter again. And this is where the rest of this comes in. Now, just to start off, you will want the following: ID, nation name, leader name, last active, alliance ID, alliance position, and alliance with name. How you would type that? So back to here, you would be here on yours. You type ID, it's filled in. Then you type nation name, then press enter. Leader name is press enter. Last active, enter. Alliance ID, enter. Alliance position, enter. And alliance. Now for alliance, you can't just leave alliance there like how you leave everything. You have to go curly bracket, enter name, and that's it. Then you're going to go to the outside of this curly bracket that you had just opened to put name, press enter, and you're going to continue. You can put whatever you want here now. Now you can find a list of them easily by just typing ZZZ. ZZZ works simply because it's wrong, and so it won't fill in anything for you. It will just give you the options that you can choose from. ID is already here, so you don't need to use ID. Anything you already have up here, you can just skip over putting them down here. But you can put, like, for example, oil. EGR is a project. ITC is also a project. ITC is the International Trade Center, by the way. EGR, don't remember. I would have to go in-game to tell you that. MLP is Missile Launch Pad. NRF, what do you call that thing? Nuclear Research Facility, and so on and so forth. CIA is the only one that isn't blatantly obvious, and it's Intelligence Agency. If you didn't, in case you couldn't figure it out. You don't need to include flag. What does flag do? The thing is, I've never actually used flag before. Can test that now. So we're actually going to replace that with flag. But in general, you want to just fill in whatever you want here. So this is where this code comes in. For this specific code, we used color, war policy, DOM policy, continent, num city, score, population, and you can just read them as you go down. Pause the video occasionally as you go down. Now the code will also be in the description of the video, so you can just go down there and copy it, of course, minus the... Well, I'll leave these in, or actually no, I'm going... For the code in the description, this will be 00, well, wrong thing. This will be 0000, simply because you're supposed to change it, all right? Or even better, we'll leave it XXXX, so you know, yes, it's supposed to be changed. You're supposed to put your alliance ID there. The alliance ID, by the way, if in case you don't know, you go to your alliance page. This is your ID, the number right there. Now, I'm just going through the entire thing so that you know exactly what everything is doing. And in case you want to make different sheets with differing things, this is how you would do it. As the game autofills it in for you, or rather not the game, the website autofills it in for you to make it easier to find out what you can and cannot use while you don't know how to code. Hence why people like me can do it, because it autofills it in for you. Now, after you have completed this, and we're just going to return this as well so that it doesn't not work. Run it again so that we can see. Yes, it works. We're going to wrong place. We'll also run this one, make sure that it works. Also works. We're going to return to Google Scripts, or other app scripts. And we're going to press add file script. We're going to name it import JSON. The reason for this is quite simple. we will be using a very specific file to run our script. You can leave this code.js or rename it, it doesn't matter. I'm going to leave it as is. We're also going to delete this and save. Now, the code. What code do you want to use? Well, that is pretty simple. We are going to, let's see, let me just find the codes very specifically. Oh wait, I could have just clicked pinned. I placed it so that it's much easier for me to find it in server, or rather it was placed. Yeah, here we are. Pop. Now, this particular thing is for a completely different thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace these. That part that you just saw me remove that said place API key here, there, you're obviously going to place your API key there. If you had already filled it in here while you were messing around with this, you don't have to go back to the game. You can just double click it, copy it, paste it there. The destination ID, this is referring to your sheet. And of course, the destination ID for our sheet in this particular tutorial is this right here. As I had mentioned before, it's the batch of letters, numbers, and symbols in between the... In fact, let me go here so you can see what I'm saying. It's in between this in the link and this. So everything that would fall in between where you see the XXX now in that link is what's the ID. By the way, this is the D that I'm referring to, and this is the slash that I'm referring to. All right. So you will copy the link, or rather the ID that's in the middle of those. If you're saying, oh, but mine doesn't have edit dash grid, or rather, I answer dash, edit number sign grid, it doesn't matter. You can, if it's like this, it's the same for you. If it doesn't have the dash because, or rather the, oh, no. Don't do that. Oh, well, it's already reloaded. But yes, if it doesn't have it, let's say it's like this, then it's still the numbers, the letters and such at the end. It always comes behind the D and the slash that's there. I call it slash, other people call it other things, I don't know. Anywho, we're going to paste that there, like that. Now, destination sheet, that's this. So whatever you have here, member alliance, if you want it to go into alliance, you put alliance here. If you want it to go into member, you put member there. Same thing. And that's it. Now, for query, this is where it gets interesting. Now, this is where you need this. So for the purposes of this, we're going to copy this. Now, this is why I said initially delete this. You don't want that. You want everything but that. The brackets and all. Once you have copied them, you're going to return here and you're going to highlight this bracket and run everything right up to there and press paste. Now, what did you notice? By pressing paste, it changed how the things were displayed. Instead of going all across, it went straight down. We'll see if that matters. We'll see if that matters. But regardless, that's what you want to do. Query, by the way, is just what it's doing. So you could have put query here and it would be the exact same thing, right? Now, the website doesn't need query to be there. You can see we run it. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't need query to be there simply because it queries automatically once you have placed the curly bracket. But that's what that query in the code here is all about. Now, after we have done this, we are going to, what's this? Okay, got it. Save the project. It says syntax error, code.js, 9. So you definitely can't do it that way. See? Good thing we're doing it in the video here. Go back. Let me just get the actual thing. Make my life easier. Code, pin, jump. This will be in the description anyways, so it doesn't really matter. And you can remove and add as you like. So replace this bad boy with these. There we go. No idea why Google is like that, where it needs to be like this, but hey, we aren't complaining. 9106. Now you will need to replace this obviously with your Alliance ID. Clearly. You don't need to touch 500. 500 is the max it will do regardless, so you don't need to touch 500. But you do need to change this. And as I said, for you, it will show up in the description as simply XXXX. If you leave it like that, it will. well, let's just say you will have a very interesting experience, yes? Let's put it that way. It won't work. In other words, you don't need to touch anything down here. But what you do need to do is press save. If you run it right now, it won't work because you haven't filled in the import JSON as yet. That one, you will need the following code, which I won't leave in the description because it's extremely long, and instead I could simply tell you where to go and get it. So it's not by me, by the way. As you can see, it's by Brad Jasper and Trevor Lorbeer, or however you would pronounce that. Sorry if I'm butchering your name. But for that particular code, you would go to this link, which will be in the description. Let's go here. github.com/bradjasper/import JSON. Exactly like that. If it's not in the description, let's say I forgot to put it there, you can just type it in, you see it there. You're going to come here. You don't need to sign in, sign up, none of that. You're going to go here, download a zip. Once you have downloaded it as a zip, you're going to export it. You might not need to, depending on your computer, but you are going to export it, or not, what would you say? Extract it, rather, to ensure that, everything goes smoothly. You're going to use this file. You don't need to look at the rest of them. You can, but you don't need to look at them. You're going to use this file. Oh, but you could even just copy it here, no? And you're going to copy all of this when you open it. Or, better yet, since it never even occurred to me that you could just copy it from here, click on it, scroll. Well, this actually took longer for me than just downloading the file and doing it that way, since I could just press Ctrl-A. In fact, can you? No, it includes the page as well. That's what I thought. So yes, you want to copy everything. It's long, I know. Copy it. Is this an easy way? Copy raw contents. Let's try. Copy. Let's try that actually. Paste. Same result. So we learned something new again today. Like I said, not my kind of thing anyways, but yes. How to do it? Let's go back so you can see what I was doing. Go to this link, click on import json.js. You won't need to download it apparently. Click copy raw contents, head back here, and for the file that you had named import JSON, it's going to be empty like this. You just paste it there. How you paste it will vary from computer to computer. Like if you're on Windows, you can just press Ctrl V, or you can, right click and press paste. But Ctrl V I find is much easier. If you're used to it at least. You're gonna press saved, and now you can run your code. Now, before we continue, you can see how this looks right now. Watch what happens. Run. See execution log come up. An unknown error as occurred. Please try again later. Interesting. Now what's the error, I wonder? Let's see if we can figure it out. One thing, so nobody can say, oh, but it doesn't work for me. In fact, let's just press enter, save, backspace, save, API Nation Code GS, we have the Alliance ID, key, ID, member. Is that thing named member? Yes. Run. I think that's everything. Error? Import JSON, the JS. Let me actually see something. Import. I wonder if the code is different. Copy. We're gonna figure this out together. Paste. Save. Run. How odd. Let's see what we are missing. Oh. Wait, it can't be that. Hold on. Hold on a minute there, guys. Let's see something. The good news is I actually have another script I can just look at to figure out what's wrong. What's different here? Oh, actually, hold on. Let's just grab this, copy, head. Oh, I forgot about it. This wouldn't happen to you because you didn't refresh the... You remember when I refreshed this page when I was trying to show you the ID? It just occurred to me now. So, you definitely do not want to do that, by the way, what I did. But to save myself the need of having to go over and redo this just in case it never saved it, we're going to close that page after we have copied this. So yours might actually work without needing to do any of this. For mine though, I'll need to return here. Is everything there? 9106. Is this file here as well? Yes. Run. What time is it? Because it wouldn't run the command as well if it's a turn. Now this is what you need. Yes. Authorization required. So once you're here, you press review permissions. You have to review the permissions, of course, by signing in. Google hasn't verified this app. It's requesting sensitive info. Give it to it because you're the one doing it, all right? Nobody's hacking into your account. You're the one that's actually doing it. So you would just click on advanced, go down to where it says go to your sheet name and in bracket unsafe. For me, it says go to tutorial and then bracketed unsafe. Click on that. Then you click on allow. Don't need to touch anything that's there. And it runs. See? Now, if you're wondering why it wasn't working for me, it was simply because I had, and you can see it already changed the sheet, updated it with everything. But if you're wondering why it never worked for me the first time, it's because I had refreshed this page. So let me do it again to show you. So I refreshed the sheet. Well, it actually closed the thing this time. But if you remember, the previous time, it didn't close the app script sheet, what you call it, page. So what had happened is that because it didn't close it, because I had pressed not to close it since I was still working on it, the sheet was essentially disconnected from the script, and that caused an issue. No, why in the world are you? Because I had also changed the formatting here. So we're just gonna clear formatting. Nice. Now let's see if it will actually allow me to go back. There we go. Yes, that's what I was referring to. This, if you remember earlier in the video, we fooled around with the thing when I was trying to show you ID. We did this actually. Then we pressed enter. I forgot that pressing enter would have refreshed the page. It refreshed the page, but since this hadn't saved as yet, it asked me if I wanted to save first, or rather if I wanted to close it because I had unsaved things. And I pressed cancel, meaning no, since I was still working on it, showing you what to do. And so that's why it didn't work. None of this would affect you unless you followed me exactly how I was doing it and refreshed this sheet while this one wasn't saved and then didn't allow this one to close. So again, how to do it? If you see that error that come up, simply close this page, refresh Google Sheets, the one that you're on. Don't go back to that, then open a different one. Obviously, it won't work that way. Then you're gonna return to app scripts. Oh, come on, you just yes. Return to app script. I suppose it was uploading just then. And run it again. Now, you want to run the sheet alliance. The easiest way to do it, make a copy of the exact same thing you did here. Now you will definitely want to name this different. Name that alliance or whatever you have that sheet named as. And to make things easy to track, name the one that you had created initially for the very first sheet that you had the same name as it. Now, the name you put here won't affect the script at all. It won't, so you can put whatever name you want there. In case you're wondering what I just did, by the way, I clicked on this and clicked move file up since it was below import JSON. Not sure if it's necessary, never tried it without it, but I just do it because, I rather see everything that I'm working on above that file, since the import JSON rather is simply there to allow us to use JSON, import JSON that is. It's essentially an I'm not the best person to explain what this is to you. I'm not gonna lie. This probably explains it much better than I ever will be able to. Yes. That's what that file is there, or rather this script is there for. Right? Now, anywho, when you create a copy of it, by, like I said, make a copy, you want to name this. So you want to change this to whatever the name of your sheet is here. So if it's Alliance, you put Alliance. If it's not Alliance and something else, you put the other name that's there. Now, for illustration purposes, let's say the sheet was named Alliance Learn, for example. You would put Alliance Learn here, and let's see if that works. Now, we won't change the query as yet because we're just testing to see if this works. Save, and then run. Now, you don't need to change any of the other things. You don't need to change the API key. You don't need to change the destination ID because it's the exact same sheet and you are the one that's doing it. All right? Press run. It works. And it went to Alliance Learn. So yes, if there's space there, you just put a space there. The reason why I wanted to check first is because in certain other Google applications, you need to add certain things if there is a space there, but no, because the single quote, I assume that's called quote, is there, you can simply put the name exactly as it is here. And as you can see, it's updated by itself. Now, if we were to change this name here to Alliance and not change it here to Alliance, it won't work. As you can see, didn't work. Why is that? Because the destination sheet that we are attempting to send it to, Alliance Learn, does not exist. So you have to note that. So if you want it to work, it needs to match it exactly. If there's an S at the end of it here, there must be an S on the end of it here. If there's a full stop there, there must, well, you might not, you don't put a full stop there. Can you even put a full stop there? Let's try. Full stop. Full stop. Ah, but it's inside the code, so it would be fine anyways. Then save, press run, and see whether it runs. Yeah, it runs. So if there's a full stop there, you put the full stop there as well, and such, so on and so forth. Now, in terms of having the sheets being different, right? So that's just how you do it. And by the way, this gives you a ton of information. It won't show for me everything that's in between here and here, simply because I am not in an officer or higher position within this alliance. All right, remember? So if you are the alliance leader, you'll be able to also access money, coal, oil, of every single nation within your alliance, of course. And you can set it up so that it works quite beautifully and you can access every single information that you want as easy as possible. Now, there's another thing that you will want to do. After doing this, and this sheet, by the way, gives you virtually everything except spies, Is there a code for spies? It's something I never included in my own sheet as well. Let's see, spies, there is. So it's as simple as doing that. But remember, we can't use this. So, or rather, I won't tell you to use it because it never worked for me. So, we go, if you want to add spies to it, you just use this to ensure that you know exactly what the game recognizes it as. So, for example, if you type in spies, you realize that it fills in spies for you and you press enter, spies. However, if we wanted something else, let's say spy satellite, that code is a different thing. You see, spy underscore satellite. So you just use this to tell what it is for it that you will need to use. In our case, spies. So we're gonna put spies here, comma, and do that. We put it behind espionage available because it makes the most sense. And we're going to run the command again. We didn't even save it. Oh well. There you go. And you'll see that now it should be updated, yes, with spies. You can see them right there, spies. Now, we of course also won't be able to access that in this particular sheet, simply because, again, I am not a here officer or leader of this alliance, so I don't have access to that information. If I was to click on, let's say, Milo, for example, Milo, that name. Actually, she told me how she spells, how she pronounces it. Milo, I believe. Yes, Milo. If we were to click on her nation, for example, and scroll down, you'll see that I don't currently have access to the amount of spies that she has. That's simply because, like I said, I am not an officer or higher in rank of this alliance. If she were to do this with her key, it would show all of this information here because she has access to them. All right, so that's something to note. Now, and this applies whether the sheet is for your alliance or another alliance, it matters not. If you are the one doing it with your API key and you don't have the perms to see these, you won't see them. You'll see everything else that's here but them. So even if you can't see them, this sheet still has some value, right? Of course. Now, if, for example, you're not the leader or officer or anything like that in your alliance, but your alliance wants you to make the sheet, all you need to do to get the sheet to show all of this information is get the API key of a leader here or officer within your alliance. Not in Discord, in game. They must have those positions, one of those positions in game for this to work. At the current time of this video, those are the only positions that exist. It will change later. Well, in terms of gov, by the way, there's of course the member and applicant position as well, but those those won't affect this. They won't give you access to this. So you need someone with the officer or here or leader role in game. In game being the game in and of itself. But yes, if you don't have access to that information, but your alliance wants access to that information, just get your leader or someone in the here position or someone in the officer position to give you their API key. Then you would replace your API key with theirs. Don't change anything else that's here and press run, and it would fill in all of this. I won't be doing that in this video because those are very, what do you call it, OPSEC information or secret information, you know? That's not for you to know. Everything that you can see here, the reason why I have no problem showing them to you is simply because you can see them without the sheet. Like I said, let's go to, again, or actually let's use Narukami. If we were to go down and click on Narukami, you can see all of this information. Scroll down. So for example, soldiers, 180,000. If we were to go soldiers, 180,000, 17,250, 17,250, 5 missiles, 5 missiles, 5 nukes, and so on, right? But you can't see spies here, so you can't see spies here. And of course, if you go to your alliance and you don't see control panel here, it means you will not have access to anything in between, or rather from money to food on this list. You'll still be able to see projects because if you go to said sheet, back to Narukami, and or rather to the nation, and you scroll down, you'll be able to see all of the projects that they have. So you will have access to that. Just like you might have also access to their city data, for example, infrastructure, land, and the build that they're on. But you won't have access to how much money they have or resources they have or anything like that, because you don't have access to said information here. It is found in control panel, by the way, which is something that everyone from the officer position upwards has access to. Now, I've stressed over that much. Hopefully you understand exactly why you do not have access to said information and how to get it if you want it or need it. Now, you could stop right here, and if you wanted to create a different sheet, let's say you wanted an alliance sheet with everyone in the alliance and all of the data that you can get, you can do that here. But you wanted the member sheet to only show military, for example, military units. So you don't want to see anything from, actually, let's say military, we said, right? Money to advanced engineering. Let's say you don't want to see any of that, or even better, let's say you don't want to see, because you might still want to see money and such, so that you know what they have and how they would be able to perform in a war. You know, let's say like bauxite and stuff, you know, you need those during war. Not bauxite, what do you call it? Munitions, gasoline, steel, and aluminum. So let's say you don't want the projects for that particular sheet. How would you do that? So the exact same code that I gave you, right? This is where it's pretty much easy in terms of just using the code, because you can simply find what you don't want in that particular sheet. Let's say this is the members sheet, right? We're on members, we don't want all of that. You can simply find what you don't want. So we don't want everything from projects. Go down, and we're just going to highlight everything. Don't include the curly brackets, and press backspace or delete, and then remove everything including the comma that was there. Then press save, run the command, and it ran. And now you will see that, hold on. What code just ran? Let me see something. You didn't remove it here. You didn't remove it here. Wait, let's see. Remember that JS, member sheet, run. Manifest this need, huh, it's still calculating them. Where are you getting the code to calculate? Oh, my bad. Ah, yes. If you're doing multiple sheets, very important. In the same document, that is, you need to change this. So where you see API, now you could change the entire thing, but I recommend just leaving API there and changing this to whatever sheet, the nation to whatever sheet you're using. So API member, and then press save. And then for this one, API alliance. This is only if you're using multiple sheets in the same overall spreadsheet. So for example, we are using both alliance and member. You want to change that, because if it's the same, it will just run one of the commands all of the time. So now you can see this has changed to API alliance rather than API nation, and this has changed to API member rather than API nation. Whereas before, both of them had API nation, and as a result, it was just running this command that was in alliance.gs. So that's something to change as well. See, it's a good thing we're doing this live in this video, so you can see everything that I'm doing and all of the mishaps you might have along the way. Now, run this command again. Return. There you can see everything is gone. Yeah. So why wasn't it going away before? Simple. Because it was trying to run API nation, and both of these were included the code for the function API nation. So as a result, even though this code told it not to look for projects and all of that, This one did. As you can see, the projects and such are still there. Advanced City Planning, Space Program and such. And as a result, it just chose one and ran it, which led to the code showcasing all of the time the data we didn't want in this sheet along as in this sheet. So that's just something to keep in mind. Nope. Back here though, another thing you will want to do is, so if you don't want to have to go through this, especially if you have a lot of members in your alliance where it goes off the sheet and you don't want to have to scroll back over here to see what nation it is, then go back over here to see, oh, the data that they have, then go back over here to see, or even worse, or well, the exact same but different. You don't want to scroll down and you're looking down here, then you have to scroll back up to see what this column is about, then scroll back down again. Let's say you're here, you don't know whether this is soldier, tanks, planes, it could be money, it could be anything. You have to go back up to see it. If you don't want to have to do that every time, very simple fix. So you're going to go to whatever row and column you want. So let's say you only want to do the row here that includes ID, nation name, leader name, last active, and all of that. You will click anywhere on that row. So you can click here, you can click here, you can click here, it doesn't matter. I'm going to click here. And you will go to view, freeze, and up to row 1. Now, if we scroll down, you can see that it remains there. It's essentially pinned there. And even if we go across, it's still pinned there. We can scroll all the way down till we can't see any data. We can go all the way up. It stays there. So if that's, I recommend doing that because it will make life so much easier. Next thing I recommend doing is getting all of this data from here to here to perform exactly like this, meaning when you go across, it stays here on screen to make life easier for you. How to do that? If your setup is exactly like mine, ID, nation name, leader name, you'd simply click on leader name or anywhere that's within this column. But if you don't want to involve leader name, let's say you only want ID, or let's say you only have the links of every nation here, you can click on this column and do the exact same thing, view, freeze, up to column A, and it would do it. It only shows the nation ID. If you wanted to include the nation name as well, you simply click anywhere in this column. You can click here, you can even click down here, it doesn't matter. Go to freeze, up to column B, and it changes. As you can see, now it stays there. If you want to go up to leader name, let's say you know your alliance members by their leader name and not their nation name, or you just want to include it for whatever reason, do the exact same thing, column C. And as you can see, it remains there. We can scroll down, we can scroll up. You can see it remains there. Now, the information, if you, let's say you want, for whatever reason, everything from 20 across and C down to remain permanently here on screen. So for example, it goes away here because we're scrolling down and these nations aren't. So let's say, for example, we had one here, one here, one here, one here, one here. Scrolling down doesn't show anything here because we don't have a member here, right? So if you're wondering, oh, but it doesn't pin it there, that's simply because the data that's here isn't for nations that are here. And like I said, from the very beginning, when we're doing this, no matter what you do, if you mess up the sheet, let's say you even come here, for example, and you grabbed everything and somebody, let's say, wanted to mess up your alliance for whatever reason, they got access to the sheet and they can edit it and they deleted it like that. it doesn't matter. The data is gone. You have data down here that doesn't belong. Doesn't matter. You just go back here. What sheet was that? Member. And press run. And it will fix the sheet. As you can see, it updated it to what it needs and removed everything else. Now, important fact about that. You can set this to run automatically, meaning you don't have to come back and do it every time. It's currently set, I believe, on triggering every time you open the document. We don't want that. We want it to be constantly updating, or actually, it doesn't even have a trigger. So we're going to create a trigger. If you're wondering how we got there, from the editor page, you simply go over here, click on triggers. It's the alarm clock. Click on create a new trigger. Now, this is where naming them separate comes in handy. Because we have named them separate, we can see them separately. Do not run any of these commands. You don't want import JSON, import JSON, import. None of these. URL encode, you don't want them. You only want the one that you put in place, which are API member. In this case, for me, you remember we renamed it to API member from API nation. API member, go down. You don't want, when you open the spreadsheet, you want time driven. And I don't recommend doing it hourly. I recommend doing it minutes, and not every minute, because the game updates on the hour essentially. So you want to, well, every 2 hours on the hour. So you don't want it to arrive in a situation where it's trying to update the sheet while the game itself is undergoing a turn change, because the API will not work while it's undergoing a turn change. Something to keep in mind. So to avoid any errors, you simply set this to every 5 minutes. Ensure that you are not on what do you call that thing? Long time I don't know, you know. dash of 5. I can't remember. Power, is it power of 5? You know, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You don't want to be on any of those numbers. Any number that can be divided by 5 and don't leave a remainder. You don't want your clock currently, when you press save, to be on any of those numbers. Because if it is, there's a chance, or very likely chance, that the sheet will attempt to update while the game is undergoing a turn change. So right now it's 10:23. We're going to press save. Now, because we have multiple, it gives us another option to just do it again without us having to press create a new one again. We select the other one this time because the first one we did was API member. Now we do API alliance. We do the exact same thing, time driven, not hour, minutes, not every minute, every 5 minutes. We're still at 10:23 now, 10:24 p.m. That's perfectly fine. Notify me daily, yeah, that's fine as well. Press save. And there you can see. And that's it. You don't need to touch the script again unless you want to change something. And this will update automatically on its own every 5 minutes from the moment you set it, and every 5 minutes after that. All right. So closing that, because you don't need it anymore. You could end things right here, but I actually recommend going a step further to make the sheet very easy to use and understand. And that is by using conditional formatting. Now, like I said, you can stop right here because the API that you used, api.politicsandwar, that only applied, let me close these, to create the sheet. What we are about to do does not use that at all. It only uses the data that API /script thing that you used delivers to the sheet. So as this data is updated, so too will what we are about to do also update. Now, what is conditional formatting? In the simplest words, color coding. An example of this, if we click on format, conditional formatting, you can see immediately it changes everything. But for last active in particular, we do not want it to change everything. We want to be able to see what members are active and what members are currently inactive. And my alliance right now that I'm in is the perfect example of that, because we have one member that is really, really inactive right now. Or actually, he may have logged in. Nope. One of them is still inactive right now. Yeah, the other one is still inactive as well. So, well, they're not fully inactive yet, but what we did, so we were on single color, we clicked on color scale, we clicked on, under format rules, we clicked on preview, well, default, and we changed it from this that it was on to that. Now, automatically, this sets it from min value to max value. We don't want it to scale that way because we're dealing with time, meaning the higher the value of the time, the date, the better it is for us. We don't want, someone that hasn't logged in from 2001 to appear in green, That's not what we want. And so we're going to change this, and you can select whatever colors you want, but I recommend using red, green, and gold. And here we have it under custom because it's set up using these colors, so we can just utilize these. For min value, you want this color. For max value, you want the green. And boom, just like that, it has already updated to where we can easily identify someone that is currently inactive for many days versus someone that has logged in today. But as you can see, not everyone that has logged in today is in green. For example, Alex Hawker, they logged in today, but they aren't in green. How do you fix that? Where you see percentile, do not change it from this. Simply not increase, what you call that thing? Decrease it to where it shows you everyone that's on today's date in green, everyone that's on yesterday's date in anywhere from what would that color be, yellowish green to yellow/orange, depending on how you want to look at it, to orange for someone that hasn't logged in for the past 2-ish days. Last time I checked, that was 40 hours or thereabout. So 20 works perfectly fine. Let's see what 10 would do. 10 actually works even better in the sense that everyone that logged in today or yesterday is in green, other than for those that have undergone, like, for example, let's say 48 hours then, or nearly 48 hours. Like this person, they logged in yesterday, but it's been so long since the minute they logged in that, they're showing up different. But that's a bit too generous to everyone, right? So let's go with 15, and that's more like it. Now this shows us right from the get-go, we press done, and that's it. Now it left because I clicked on member, but this is what you would see after you press done. So you press done, this is what you'd see unless you click off of it onto something else. What this does though is it enables you to simply, let's say you're on this sheet, or let's say you're in game, you open up your sheet, you head here, immediately you can tell who is inactive. You can do that here as well, like as you can see, Leo Synthesis 3, they're inactive. Leo Synthesis 3, inactive. Can immediately tell they're not fully inactive yet, but they're getting there. As you can see, active in the last 7 days. That's pretty much what that is telling you. They haven't been active for the last, what would you say? When it's red, I guess 3-4-ish days. I'd have to go on Discord to tell you exactly how long he has been inactive for. But that's what this does. The same can be used for color. So for example, you want, for us, pink is our color. So format, conditional formatting, and you want text is exactly. You don't need to type in capital or common, pink. Done. Then we go text is, or that does not contain pink. We want that to be red. You can use these colors, by the way. So I could actually go back up and click on this color so that it matches everything else. But I personally think this green is a bit too dark. And as you can see, if we just left the code like that, actually let me change back this green, because that green, if we just left the code like this and press done, it would color things that we don't want colored as well. We don't want people, or that the blank spaces down here to also have color. We don't want the, what would you call this? We don't want this bar up here as well that gives us information on what each column is about to be colored as well. How do you fix that? There are multiple ways. Now, you could, the easiest way to do it in terms of fixing the color here is to simply change this from H1 to H2. Or if you have Z there, Z1 to Z2. If you have A there, A1 to A2. Press done. What it does, by the way, is remove this from the equation. If you're wondering why this code doesn't affect it, even though it says H1 there, it's because this code only changes those that are green, meaning everything in this column. If you scroll down, if we were to put, let's say, pink here, you see it would change. We go back, it removes it and puts red. So that's essentially the exact same thing here. If we were to change this to say pink, even in capital, it would change it to pink. We go back, it changes it back. So that's why. And that's what it means. So it's exactly as it says. Text does not contain pink. Everything in this column that does not contain pink will also match this color. Now we don't want it to be that dark personally. So we're going to select this color here. Now how to fix it so that it doesn't show the color down here? It's simple. Add another rule. If empty, so format cells if is empty, you are going to click here and click none. Then click done. You don't need to change it from H1, but you can to put H2. And then you're going to drag this command or rule above the text does not contain pink rule. And you can see, gone. The order that you put them in here tells it how to prioritize them. So for cell is empty, you could actually put it here as well. It wouldn't change anything because these cells aren't empty. An example of this, if I were to put 1 here, even though it has nothing to do with pink or brown or anything like that, it would still change because this cell is no longer empty, yet it also doesn't contain pink. So that's how to do it. You remove it, it removes everything as well. Now, let's say you want beige to show a different color, right? Because beige isn't necessarily to be viewed in the same way as something like gray, for example. How to do that? You simply go back here, add another rule. If text is exactly beige, and you select the color you want for it. In this particular case, we're going to use this color. Done. How to fix it? Because right now, it is still prioritizing this over this. You simply drag it up. Bop, there you go. Now, all beige nations within our alliance are colored in that color. And so that's how you do that. Pretty simple, right? Now, if you want something like let's say, aircraft, or ships, or tanks, or soldiers. For my alliance in particular, we create our sheets to simulate a situation where every single nation should theoretically have 10 nations, 10 cities or higher, meaning, and by doing that rather, it allows us to make sheets that are generalized. So even though these nations, for example, even though Gabe doesn't have 10 cities, the entire sheet will still calculate it as though he had 10 cities. Not in the sense that, oh, his score will go higher or his population will go higher to match the 10 cities, but in the sense that his ship count, aircraft count, tank count, and soldier count will match the MMR that we have set for 10 cities, which in this particular case is 0351 for everyone with 10 cities or higher. By doing it that way, it allows us to color code or conditional format the entire document, soldiers, tanks, aircraft, ships, without needing to do it on a case-by-case basis. It's the simplest way to do it, since it doesn't require you to type in a code that, oh, if X person has X amount of cities higher than, or then, if, for example, how you could do it, if you know how to code, is to go here, format, conditional formatting, and simply select custom formula is, and type in your formula here. And you could put if nation has 10 cities, then X, if nation has 23 cities, X, if nation have more than 10 cities, X, like you can do that if you want to. For our case, it's not necessary. How we do it is quite simple. So let's cancel this. Because we're running the sheet as though everyone has 10 cities, because we are pushing everyone to 10 cities, makes things easier. How we do it, we know exactly what they should have. For soldiers, they shouldn't have any. For tanks, they should have a minimum of 7,500 tanks, because that's the maximum you can buy with 3 factories per city at city 10. For tanks, or we just said tanks, for aircraft, it's a maximum of 750. For ships, it's a maximum of 50. Meaning, none of these nations here should have less than those amounts, because that's what the sheet is expecting them to have. And that's how we have set it. And that's what they will have when they get to city 10. So that's how we have set it. It also means that, for example, Narukami, who has 23 cities, is vastly over the calculation. But that's also not a concern, because we have a separate sheet that calculates MMR and MMR percentage. And that particular sheet doesn't utilize the same method that we use here. Instead, it utilizes on a case-by-case basis. Okay, does this person match the MMR? Are they on, for example, for city 10 or city 16 or etc. 0351? Okay, they are. Okay. Then do they have the necessary military for that? No. Well read. Whereas, let's say a city 5 nation is supposed to be on raiding at least. They're supposed to be on just 5 barracks. Well, do they have 5 barracks? No, they only have 2. But they have 351 in everything else. But they still don't match the MMR. So that's what that sheet does, but that's a completely different thing. For this purpose, if you want to do it without needing to do everything on a case-by-case basis, or you don't know how to code by using the custom formula, if statements, else statements, all of those things, then do what we do. Color scale, go here. Of course, you need to change these so that min value, max value is different. you want to set it so that max value is green, min value is red. This is important for military units because, and it's important that you notice, because you want them to have more military and not less. Before we continue here, let's just go back. For soldiers, where you want them to have less soldiers, you want to leave it as is. So color scale, you go here. You want to leave it so that the lower the amount of soldiers, the greener it gets. The higher the amount of soldiers, the redder it gets. We're just going to save it so that it stays there, as opposed to aircraft, for example, where you want it to be the higher the amount of aircraft they have, the better it gets. The lower the amount of aircraft they have, the redder it gets. So that's something to note. So as you can see, this column scales from low to high, with low being the better option, which is why this person who has 0 soldiers has theirs green, whereas this person that has 180,000 soldiers has theirs red, because the further you go away from 0, the worse the sheet will calculate it as. Aircraft, on the other hand, in-game you want to have as much aircraft as possible, the maximum amount of aircraft that you can. And as a result, this sheet, or this column, calculates from high to low, with high being the good value, the green one, and low meaning 0, and everything lower than a set value being red, and yellow, and all of the other colors that come in between green and red on this color scale. So that's what it is. Now, how to set it as we did? In our case, like I said, 750 is what it is expecting from every single member here. So we're going to set the max point. We're going to change it to number. What's this? Aircraft. We're going to do 750 as the max. And as you can see, it changed. Everyone that has 750 aircraft or higher is now green. Everyone that has less than that has varying colors based on how far away from 750 they are. As opposed to this sheet right here, we want the exact opposite. We want a minimum value of 0. You want to change it to 0 if it's not there, because min value will leave it at the minimum value that is available here. It won't calculate those without values. It will only calculate values here, meaning if everyone here has 360,000 troops and one person only has 10,000, it will calculate it from that 10,000. If everyone has 360,000 and no one has anything lower than that, it will calculate it min value from 360,000. All right, so you want to change this to 0 if you're trying to match this specific way we're doing our sheet. And you don't need to put a max value because we don't want them to have soldiers unnecessarily. This is peacetime at least. So during wartime, you want everything to be maxed, obviously. And if that's what you're doing, it's quite simple to change it. Let's say you want max soldiers at that point. You would just, so like how the sheet is now. So after you press done, you would simply click on the ones you want to change. So for example, Q, only Q, by the way. You don't want to change everything at once because everything has different values. Click on the one you want to change. So the column, click format, conditional formatting, go here, and to change it to meet wartime, where you want everything to be maxed, soldiers max, tanks, aircraft, ships, all you need to do is change the colors around. So instead of have min point being green and max point being red, you change min point to be red and max point to be green. And then boom, you can see everything like that. Those who have 0 during wartime, oh, how do you have 0 troops? You need to buy troops, things like that. Note, however, that this does calculate everything based off of the minimum value here and the maximum value here, meaning it will not match your MMR requirements exactly. All right? If you want that, the best way to get that done, or the easiest way to get that done, is to use the Lokotos bot that's available from Borg in-game. If you don't know who Borg is, the easiest way for me to find him. Actually, let me do it a way that you can understand. Nations, Borg. There are so many Borgs. It's this one though, Danzek. So you can actually search Danzek instead. Danzek. It's loading. While that loads, no idea why it's taking that long this time. Oh, it's done. It's this person. This Borg. Does he have the thing here? Nope. What's the best way to get it? I would suggest you can ask for it from anybody in the Politics and War server, but you can also message him in game, send a message to him in game, and get it that way, of course. Another way is, like I said, just go to the actual Politics and War server, which is here, Discord, on the community, and ask there. Easy way to do it, really. I will also, if I remember, leave the link in the description or pinned comment down below to invite the bot to your server. But I would also recommend getting someone that knows how to use the bot, preferably Borg, the same person I just showed you, to come in and help you set it up. Reason being, you do not want to give any and anyone that information. You can trust Borg, trust me. Trust me when I say you can trust Borg to work in your best interest. If you want an offshore alliance as well, in other words, you want to store cash for your alliance, resources for your alliance that you would deposit into your alliance bank, that your members would deposit into your alliance bank, you can also talk to him about that as well. Get one set up. He will teach you how to use it, all of that can be done with that bot. Incredible bot, lovely thing, but it will also give you the MMR sheet. So if you want to set it up like that, where you have the MMR sheet color coded, you can just have the bot set up in your server, and you can either ask Borg to do it for you or do it yourself. In your particular case, if you're doing it yourself, you would simply type, let me do it here, this code in Discord after the bot is set up. So !MMR sheet, then your alliance ID. So for my particular scenario, it's 9106. Then here you're gonna put -F and press enter, and it will update the sheet and then give it to you. And that sheet that it gives you, it will always update that sheet every time you run this command for that specific alliance, for your specific alliance. But do note that unlike the sheet that is here in the background that we're currently working on, this sheet right here, unlike this one, it will not update automatically, meaning every time you want it to update, you will have to go back and update it. All right? Now, where were we? This is for... Nope. We want to change these back, with low value being that. We want to... All right, that's already all right. And that's how you do it. Now, for Missiles and nukes, you want to do something slightly different in that if you want your nations, you want your alliance to have nukes and missiles, you can do it the exact same way. We just did it in the sense that format, conditional, color scale, and you go here, you select that option, and you simply, well, you could leave it like this if you don't want them to have nukes, but or missiles, but I'm gonna show you another way as well, because that way will also work. That way will work better rather for when you have just letters there. So like the pink and such. For here though, if you want them not to have any, then you're gonna leave it like this. You can change the color, of course, to make it less bold green, I guess is the word I was looking for. You can leave it as is though. You can also change the yellow, you can change the red, you can make the red brighter, you can make it dark, well, duller, anything you want, it doesn't matter. However, if you want them to have nukes and missiles, and you want them to have essentially the more the merrier, you simply swap the colors as you had done here, where you put min value, nope, you put min value as red, and you put max value as green. And done. If you want the max value to be a specific number, meaning you want them to have a minimum of, let's say, 5 of each, then you change it to number, you press 5 here, and voila. It's like that. You want it to be 10, you can simply put 10 there, and voila. And in this case, everything above 10 would be green as well. So for example, if we were to put 200 here, it would also be green. If we were to put 50 here, it would also be green. If we were to put 12 here, it would also be green. You can see the sheet just updated automatically and removed everything that we just did. So that's how you do that. However, if you don't want to do it this way, and you want to do it specific where it only has 2 colors, you either want it to be green, meaning they don't have any or they have, or you want it to be red, you would choose single color. Then you're going to go to is greater than or equal to and type in 1. And if you want them to have missiles and nukes, then you would just leave it as green and press done. In this particular scenario, I don't want them to have nukes. I don't want them to have missiles. So we're going to put it as red. Now, just because they have nukes and missiles doesn't mean you need to go and tell them to get rid of it. It's just there for your own thing then, to showcase, oh, this person actually has missiles, this person actually has nukes. I can tell them in their war, oh, drop a nuke, like use a nuke next or use a missile next. It's there to give you as much information as possible. So we'll press done here, and then for the rest, we're simply going to do the exact same thing. Go down to is lesser than and put 1 and make it green. What this means is every number within these 2 columns that has a value that is equal to or greater than the number 1 will show red. Every value that is less than 1 will show as green. These down here are in the same column, these going down, but they are not, or rather they do not have a value. So right now, in their blank state, they don't have a value. They don't have a value of 0, they don't have a value of 1, 10, 20. It doesn't matter. What that means is if, for example, we were to get another member, let's paste them paste this here, you can see the sheet would update accordingly. A new member in game, it pastes it here. No, we don't want that, so we're actually going to go back. And if you mess up, like I said, it doesn't matter in terms of copying something from one place, putting it somewhere that it shouldn't be, because as you saw in real time, when the sheet updates, it removes everything that would essentially get in its way. It won't remove the colors because the color coding isn't something that gets in its way. That's the simplest way I can put it. You can also color code members as well so that you can see the leader of your alliance separate from officers, separate from heirs, separate from applicants. Yes, you can indeed see applicants here as well. Vampiria doesn't currently have any applicants, so no applicants will show up here. However, if we did have an applicant, it would show here. And in fact, let me show you exactly what that will be right before we close the video. So for demonstration purposes, I am going to leave the alliance. We're going to leave. That's how you leave an alliance, by the way, in case you didn't know. Then we're going to just join back immediately. Join alliance. No, they won't accept me. Hopefully Milo doesn't accept me. Milo. I'm going to call her Milo. I'm sorry. I can't remember her name. You know, like, she told me it, and it's like, I say what I see. You know, like, if I see cashier, and you tell me it's pronounced cow, I'm still gonna say cash because my eye sees cash, you know, like. But anywho, that's besides the point. Here we are now, we're an applicant here. As you can see, the sheet hasn't updated as yet. But if we want to push an update, we can simply open the app script. And this is for the say the Lakota spot telling me that someone has applied, which is us, of course. We're just going to run the sheet. So we want this one to be updated. Actually, it did change. 5 minutes gone already? Wow. That 5 minute passed fast. But anyways, we didn't even get to run the sheet, but that's how you would push an update. If you can't wait around, you just go there and press run. But now you can see applicant. If you wanted to show them different, each role different, you would simply select the column by pressing up here, F. If you don't want it to include the number 1 row that includes alliance ID, alliance position, alliance name, color, war policy, etc., you can simply hold Control if you are on Windows and then click on alliance position and it will remove it. So you will see it no longer highlights it. That's another way of doing it. That way, when you click add another rule, it starts from F2 going down rather than F1 going down. Now, for this in particular, what will you do? Well, if you want it to show everything different, you're just going to do text is exactly leader, choose a color, press done. Then you want here comes next. No, text is exactly. You can even put it without the capital. It doesn't matter. It just has to be the exact same letters. You want here in your alliance to have red color. I don't know why, but you can choose whatever color. It doesn't matter. Text is exactly. Let me show you here that you don't need to match it in terms of caps. You just need to match it in terms of letters. They are member, and it doesn't matter what members are called in game. For example, for Vampiria, let's find a member to showcase this. This guy, the member role in game for Vampiria is called Vampy. But that doesn't matter because as far as the API is concerned, as far as the back end of the site is concerned, members are members. All right? Cares not what you change it to in game, you're still a member at the end of the day. So that's what this is. So that's why you will put member here and not Vampy or citizen or any other name that you put for members in game. So let's say we want those to show up as green. We're going to do that. We want officers to show up as something else. Text is exactly officer, not officers. If you put, let me show you what would happen if you put officers. After we change color, if you put an S there, it removes it because that doesn't exist. Your options are currently leader, here, officer, member, applicant. Press done. Then you want applicants to show up as extreme red, right? That way, even if you don't log in game, you can tell, oh, we actually have an applicant. Let's check and let's accept them, you know? You want it to be, no, not that color. Let's say, no. You want it to be that color. You see it shows, but we can't use that because why? That's too close to here. So we might actually want to change here to something else. That could work. We're actually going to go with yellow. And then applicants can be red. If you wonder what would happen if you had a here in your lines, let's just change someone to here. As you can see, it changes the color. If you had more officers as well, ba-da-da, da-da-da, oop, da-da-da, and you had more leaders as well, because you can have multiple leaders in one alliance, you can see it also changes based off of that. You have more applicants, it would also change based off that. All right, so that's what you can do with this, and you can see it color codes based on what you put here. Now you don't need to put another rule stating that if it doesn't contain any of those, then don't put a color there or anything like that. Simply because it will never not contain one of these words. It will only ever be leader, here, member, officer, and applicant, because the entire sheet is for your alliance and your alliance only. You can see the sheet just updated again in the background and removed everything that we placed there. Not the color coding. Let me show you. It didn't remove that. It's still there. If we were to change, for example, anything here to here, it would still change it back. And if we were to put it in common letters as well here, it would still change it back. And now I can actually get to show you before 5 minutes pass again how to push through an update. You'd simply go here, select the sheet that you want, press run, let it run, and you're done. As long as it says execution completed, you're through. As you can see, it updated the sheet and we're good to go. Now, how will this change? Real time. Let's get this nation accepted. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. There we go. That nation is accepted. Now we could just sit here and wait for the 5 minutes to pass. In fact, let's sit here and wait, since it's really and truly the last thing we'll be doing in this video. In case you're wondering, so that's how it is right now. Let me show you that we are now a member of the alliance. So if we refresh the page, you can see we have been accepted as a member. If we go to our nation currently, you can see that we are currently a vampy. Now, let's watch. Bum, 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 ba, bum, bum, bum. When did it update last? I believe 1103, no? It's now 1105. So what's that? 1103, 1104, 1105. I'm so terrible at math. All right, so that's 2 minutes. We have to wait 3 more minutes. Assuming it even updated at 1103 and not something earlier. But the reason why I'm not pushing it through is because I want you to see that as your nation state changes in game, even if we changed our military, it would also update over time. If we set it to every 1 minute, it would update every 1 minute. But as I had explained, we don't want it to go every 1 minute because the game that would have it attempting to update the sheet while the game is undergoing a turn change. And we don't want that. So that's why we set it to every 5 minutes instead, which, to be fair, is pretty close. You know, like, you shouldn't have any trouble waiting, or, well, you don't have to wait around. We can actually see when last it updated up there. But you don't have to wait around to see it or anything like that. You know, you just push through the update as we had shown by clicking extensions and doing it that way if you want. Or you can wait around like we're doing right now for exploration purposes. And pushing through the update does not get rid of the trigger. So if you go here, click this and push through the update yourself, it won't get rid of the trigger. It will still continue updating the sheet every 5 minutes. It's just that you told the sheet to update before its 5 minutes had up. And if I'm not mistaken, it calculates the 5 minutes after the last update, meaning if we were to push through an update right now, the sheet looked like it actually just updated. Let's see what changes were made just now. Oh, you can also see because we logged in, we're currently logged in, it shows us as being fully green. And Narukami just placed us in the alliance as well, accepted us. So it should also update and show her as green as well. But let's see. Applicant. Hold on. Refresh the page. Let me see something. Ah, no, it's still never updated. Interesting. So let's see. Ah, there we go. Remember. And you can also see it updated her last active as well to showcase that, yes, she was just active. In game 504 is the current time. Last time we actually touched this page. It's currently 508, so that's what that shows, you know? This time here showcases the time that it is currently in game. Namely, this particular time that's right here. 508 or this time. Well, no, lie, I'm telling, server time. My bad. Server time, not local time. Local time might actually change for you if you change the what you call it, day change or your time zone in game. I haven't because it makes life easier. This date right here won't showcase here because that's just the, how would you put it, role-playing date. So in game, like, let's say you watch a movie and the movie is like, oh, in the year 2050 humans have reached space and all that. That's essentially what this is. Or you play a game, Battlefield 5, you know, well, Battlefield 5, let's say Call of Duty Space. I honestly don't know none of these. And let's say you play Call of Duty Space, and in game they tell you the year is 2060. That's the year in game, but it's not the year in real life, you know? And so that's what this is. This is the year in game in terms of the role-playing aspect of it, in terms of the canon aspect of it, the year 2070. But this is the real time, real world time. And that's where we're going to end here. You can pretty much use exactly what I did, or rather taught or showed, however you want to put it, in this video to edit this, color code it however you want. Again, if you want, for example, V mode page turns, you can simply do something like this, and instead of getting it like this where the higher the number goes, the worse it gets, for something like VM, vacation mode, for example, as long if you want to calculate it so that as long as a nation has vacation mode, it's bad, rather than, oh, this person has 1 day left or 12 days left or anything like that. You can just conditional formatting greater than or equal to 1, red, done. Add another rule, lesser than 1, done. And if you want to change this at any time to showcase it in the color scale format, you simply click, you don't even have to delete this bottom one. You simply click on the highest conditional format rule that you have for the set range. Click here, change it to color scale. Change it to this value, and you want the minimum value to be green, maximum value to be red in this particular scenario. And you click done. And voila, done. It's as simple as that. You know, and it therefore scales based off how much time they have left. If they only had 10 left, it would scale differently. They have 5 left, it would scale differently. They have 128 left or 129, you know, it would scale based off that. But do note that by doing it this way, where you don't set a max value, it will always utilize the maximum value that is currently available here within this range. Meaning if we were to put 500 here, it would take everything here into account. And since 500 is the biggest number between this point and this point, it will use 500 as the max value. Now, if you do not want that, and you want everything above, let's say, 50 to be considered extremely bad, you would change it to number and change this number to 50. You can see the sheet just updated and removed what we just did in terms of the numbers we added. And then here you go, meaning everyone that is currently below 50 is not shown as red, but the closer they get to 50, for example, this nation that has 34, the closer their color turns to red. If they had 2, it would be different 3, different 4, different 5, 7, 9, 12, 15, 22, 80, and you'll see full-blown red. If there were 45 though, it's not that fully deep red. In fact, we can change it to make it that full deep red by simply going here and changing it to this color. You can see. If you don't have that there, it's simple as just selecting whatever red you want. Well, you should have this since those are the standard colors, but if you don't have it, select whatever color down here you want, or click on the plus and choose your color this way. It's all up to you. I have been your host as always. This is an extremely long video. Was planned for like 15 minutes, yet here we are 1 hour and 53 minutes in. But yes, can't say I didn't cover everything in this video. But I've been your host. We're going to just rush this back so that it's on the value, the color scale there. And I can afford to just go press undo because the sheet updates automatically. So I can just go back to whatever color I had liked and do it that way. But like I said, I have been your host. Also, this doesn't work if the values are like this. Just saying, this color scale mainly works with numbers. So if you want it to change based off of that, you want to go text is exactly true, green, text is exactly false, red. That way, if it is false, for example, it will change to red. Anywho, I've been your host, Devvy, and I will, of course, see you in the next one. You can apply everything here. You can change the sheets however you want. In this video, we showcased how to have the different sheets here. You can see one that includes the projects as well. If you're looking for an option that is currently not within the code that is down below, you can simply return to the website. If you didn't delete anything, it will still be there exactly as you left it. And to test to see what options you have available, simply press enter on anywhere here. I chose tanks. You can do exactly what I am doing. And type ZZ Z. And you have all of the options available here for you to check. You can see by simply going down, you even had treasures and all of those things. You know, a lot of options there that we didn't use in this particular video. Anywho, as always, I have been your host, and I will see you in the next video. Peace to you. Make sure to check out the videos that you see there right now, whether the Politics and War series that we're currently running, that this video is apparently not going to be a part of, or any other video. It doesn't matter really. See you in the next one. Peace.